Welcome to Every Night is Game Night, because we all love game nights with our family and friends. But when you play solo games, then every night can be a game night. Check us out along with other great podcasts at dicetowernetwork.com.
Every Night is Game Night, episode 178. More reviews and an announcement. Yo, my peoples, what's up? Welcome back to Every Night is Game Night, the podcast that helps you get your head in the game. This is Jason.
This is Liz.
Liz has finally received the field promotion. She has been on the show enough where I can consider her a recurring co-host. Congratulations, Liz, on the fine achievement.
I'm very happy for this achievement, but I don't know if you should be.
Oh man, so we are definitely going to hear a little bit more of Liz. Liz has been on the last few episodes, and I wanted to have her on, first of all, talk about a lot of the games we're going to talk about today. We are going to clear the review pile today. We have 6 reviews for you, all of which are games from very, very dear friends that I've made in the community. I'll say a little bit more about that after we get through our announcement, but I do have an announcement to make.
I'm doing all right. It's a MLK Day right now, so I got an extra day off from work, and I have to go back to school tomorrow, so I have the Sunday blues on a Monday. But other than that, I'm great. I had a great weekend. I've been filming and actually having a good time with my games this weekend. I got Arion set up on the table right now.
You gonna be filming that for the Dice Tower?
I'm filming part of a review, and I'm gonna be filming a playthrough for my own channel.
Please go ahead and check out Beyond Solitaire. Liz Davidson is on the Dice Tower doing regular reviews. She still has Beyond Solitaire going on. And now she is going to be appearing a little bit more on this podcast. Man, Liz, when is it going to stop? You're like Jeremy over there. Jeremy has his own thing going on. Board Game Spotlight, Man vs. Meeple. You guys make me feel really lazy.
I just really like talking about solo games. I mean, if you give me an opening, it's going to happen.
All right, so I've belabored the point enough. Before we get into the game reviews, I do have an announcement. So we are a weekly show, and I think for the most part, we have not missed a week since, at least since I joined the podcast in episode 6. And wow, that's a long run. It's about 3.5 years, so to speak. So I won't belabor the point. I'm actually going to put the podcast on hiatus. This is going to be the last podcast for a little while. I'm thinking about taking about a month or 2 break, come back in April, the first week of April, a little bit, trying to get that refreshment going, trying to recharge the batteries. When I first told Liz, what was your first response to me, Liz?
Basically, please don't go away. And if you don't come back, don't let ENGN die. Tell me so I can do something about it.
So I wanted to make the announcement because I think that is going to be people's first impression. It's like, okay, well, oh my God, this is the beginning of the end, or the podcast is going to fold. I do have no intention of folding the podcast. Talking to you guys on a regular basis has been really fun. It's been a very valuable part of my life for a lot of transitions. So I think I've been pretty honest about it. I mean, I bought a house and I had 2 kids and I've moved multiple times and I changed jobs. And, you know, in a way, the podcast, Every Night is Game Night, has been one of my only constants. And it actually helped me, even with all the transition, to just have a weekly something to keep things sane. And it's not like a podcast that I do every single week the same way. I had guests, I had interviews and reviews and discussion topics and, you know, different format changes. So like I was able to kind of play in that, but just the regularity of just, I'm going into my basement. I'm telling my wife to please put the kids to bed by herself. Thank you, wife, if you're listening, which you're probably not. And I just had something regular. So for 3.5 years, this was a really big blessing for me. So it's gotten to the point where now my life is really settled down, and I think I could just use this time to just take a break. So what's going to happen with the show is I'm not going to leave the feed empty. I'm going to play some reruns, some of my favorite episodes from back in the back catalog. I did some clips from the previous episodes when I did the deck builder best in class episode, and that was really fun. So I'm going to reach back into the back catalog and post some of my favorites from week by week. And then when I get back, we are going to get back on the horse. I'm not exactly sure what ENGN is going to look like when I do come back, but I will come back. So Liz, I know you have not struggled, but like you've had issues with like burnout and wanted to recharge the batteries. At one point, Beyond Solitaire kind of went into hibernation for a little while, right?
Yeah, I think there was about a month where I didn't post anything. I mean, it's never been like a long hibernation, but yeah, and like I actually have a video that's about ready to go out, but I haven't posted in the last couple of weeks. And I've been thinking about messing with my channel's format, and I go through phases where I want to tinker with stuff, and sometimes it takes time, or I want to like play games that are more complicated, so I can't push videos out at the same speed. And honestly, I just let myself do it. I mean, you know, it's better for me to be happy than...
But it actually takes a little while to give yourself permission to do that, right? Like you get into a point, especially as a new content creator, and neither Liz and I have done this very long. So, you know, maybe like 2 or 3 years. So when you get into that first couple of years, it's like, oh, I got to keep going. If I let it go, then I'm not going to lose engagement. I'm going to lose the momentum and everything. So it's like, you kind of like figure out a way to kind of push through. But I think we're at the point now where it's like, okay, we're content creators. We're coming back to this in some form. We can take a little bit of liberty, both with the format of our show and with the time. So I think it's like, finally, I'm giving myself permission to say, and get back at it when I'm ready to go.
I think for me, one of the big things is just that I want to enjoy this. This is my hobby. Right. I want to be happy when I play games and when I film games and when I talk about games. So if I'm not in that headspace, I just let it be. Let it work itself out. Because it always does work itself out if I don't force it.
And I think that it takes a while to build that trust, right?
Yeah, like the first time I had kind of a burnout, I was really freaked out because I was like, oh my god, what if I don't want to play games anymore? I've invested so much in this channel and in being a person who plays games on the internet, and like, oh crap, what do I do? You just wait it out. It comes right back.
Absolutely.
Read some books for a while, watch some Netflix, and then before long, you know, the itch to play a board game returns.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm afraid of. That it's like, before I was afraid that like if I took a break, then it would just kind of all fall apart. I think I'm sufficiently over that. At this point, what I have to guard against is seeing a piece of content or playing a game and wanting to immediately make a podcast about it and not actually giving myself a break.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Although everybody everybody else should be afraid, because if you don't make a return, they're stuck with me.
Oh yeah. So I'm announcing it. That's how I'm going to create boundaries around this right now. I'm putting it out in the world for the next 7 or 8 weeks. The podcast will be in reruns. I will promise to have something in your feed every single week. Reruns being episodes from the back catalog. We have 178 episodes to choose from, so I'm going to pull out some gems from the back catalog, some of my favorite episodes. I'm also going to be posting appearances that I do on other podcasts or on other shows like Beyond Solitaire, so they may be new to you, so go ahead and listen to those. I will clearly mark those, but the point being, I don't want to edit anything else. That's how that goes. And then sometime in April, the latest in May, I will come back with the 2019 ENGN Solo Awards. I'm putting that out there in the world right now. I will not inflict a Liz-centric podcast. I'm kidding, Liz. I can't even say that. I don't mean it. That's so mean. All right. So hopefully that's clear enough. And, if you have any feedback about it or, comments or questions or concern or anything, please hit me up, ENGN_podcast on the Twitter, Every Night's Game Night Facebook group, everynightsgamenight.com. I'm always willing to chat. I'm actually going to be around. Someone has to post these episodes. I will be around. I just won't be. Really, I like talking about games. The editing. That's probably the hardest part, is the editing. And it's not even as bad as a video. Editing video is probably the longest, arduous thing to do in content creation, right?
If I'm filming for me, filming playthroughs can get really tiring because, the likelihood of making a mistake is so huge. And then the possibility of somebody commenting on it is about 100%.
Yeah.
So, if I'm having a bad filming day and then I have to get through all that and then I have to splice it all together, it's got its moments.
Yeah. So I will be back in April, and definitely ENGN will chug on after that. All right, so before we put the podcast on hiatus, I have some games that I want to review for you. A lot of it because I'm very attached to the publishers who have provided the review copies. So that's one of the wonderful things about this podcast is, having the engagement with publishers and not just like getting the copies, that's great, but having the acknowledgement from some really awesome people that I can be a partner for them, that I can create value in terms of the coverage that I provide. Having really awesome people engaged that way with me has been really satisfying. So I definitely want, on the way out, want to give some love to 3 people in particular. So it's Dan Letzring from Leitman Games, Carla Kopp from Weird Giraffe, and Brennan Noonan, who is no longer with Starling Games, who's working with her own freelance outfit, but on the way out of Starling, she's like, okay, here you go. Have some things, you can go ahead and have some fun with that. So let's get to Dan's game first. It is the smallest game. It is called Squire for Hire. Liz, you covered Squire for Hire, and Liz, we trust. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I noticed that it was on Kickstarter, and actually I requested a review copy and was told, yeah, I will send you one, but then I didn't get one.
Oh.
So I would give it a bad review. No kidding. It looks super cute. I'm actually really looking forward to hearing your thoughts on it.
All right, so Squire for Hire is a micro game. You might mistake it for a button shy style game, 18 cards, a wallet size game, but it is not, specifically not a button shy game. It's its own product from Leitman Games, designed by John Merchant. In Squire for Hire, you are an adventurer. And as an adventurer, you are going to be moving through quests, and the quests are going to call upon you to have equipment available so that you can progress. The equipment is depicted by cards, which have grids on them, and basically, it's a grid laying game. I'm trying to put it in terms of some kind of thematic thing, but really, at the end of the day, what you're getting is a grid laying game. And there are a lot of these. It's a very popular format within the 18-card product model to have these tile-laying quote-unquote games. So you're thinking like a Sprawlopolis. You're thinking a Circle the Wagons, which is one of the original games that did this. You're thinking Seasons of Rice, which was kickstarted and won an award last year. A lot of the 18-card games do this tile-laying thing. So Squire for Hire, the wrinkle on that is, A, the theme. It's cute. It has good art and everything. Has a motif of cards depicting items like bow and arrow and magic symbols and all that kind of thing. Where the game gives you a little bit of a wrinkle is the quote-unquote quest system. So then on the backs of all the cards is a quest. And the quest will tell you, a quest or a dungeon or something, it gives you a requirement and it gives you a choice. So you can either have whatever the requirement is in the bag already. So let's say it's you need 5 squares worth of weapon. And it's like, okay, I have 5 squares worth of weapon. I've completed the mission. I can go on. Or if you don't have it, they give you, okay, you now need 2 squares worth of magic, but then you have to cover it up. So like you're paying the cost of that thing. So it's like, okay, you're building your bag in such a way that you can pay as many costs as possible for free so that you're free to make a powerful bag. Or if you have to, you make the choice of, I have to cover up an item, which is usually valuable points, worth points. So you're kind of moving through the game that way. Is that enough to make it stand out from these other grid laying games? So Liz, I know you have not played this, but you have played some of these other games, particularly Sprawlopolis. So how do you like Sprawlopolis?
I love Sprawlopolis. That game is so brilliant. That is the smartest little pocket game I ever played in my life. I mean, there's a couple issues that I have for Sprawlopolis. The main one is that like some of the scoring conditions kind of contradict each other. So you can like draw, one scoring condition that rewards you for doing something that another one punishes you for. But I just switch them out because like I can do that. I'm a solo gamer. But for the most,
it's not cheating if no one's watching.
I mean, but Sprawlopolis is brilliant. I really, really like it. And then the other kind of, I don't know if this is like Squire for Hire, but I previewed Orchard for Side Room Games this year, where like you're laying patterns of fruit trees over each other to try to like stack them up and get more fruit. And I thought that was delightful. That was a cute little game. And I liked it because you can set it up for one game and then you can just use the other half of the deck to immediately play another game right after. So it's like a little hooky, a little cute. I really like that one.
I mean, in this family, I think that you can't really go wrong. I mean, they're very simple designs, and it's like roll and writes, And there's people that they just love having lots of roll and writes in their life. Like you're either a person that wants one of these or all of them. It's not like you're gonna have your favorite like 3 or 4 laying around or something like that. Maybe you do, but like it seems like there's like that division between either you have your favorite and then forget the rest, or I'm just going to collect a bunch of these. Will Squire for Hire be someone's favorite of these type of games? I don't know. Like your mileage may vary. Like you may be a fantasy person, and it's just as good as some of these other games. I think it falls a little bit short of Sprawlopolis in the sense that the quest system. I mentioned before there's that choice between whether you want to pay for an item or whether you have the item already in your bag. Eventually, your bag is going to grow to the point where you can always have that in your bag, so it kind of eliminates a choice. You're midway through the game, and it's like, pay this thing or have this thing. You're generally going to have the thing, so your choice kind of falls off, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So at that point, you're at the midpoint, you're not making a choice anymore. You're just like making the best scoring bag, which... there are people who just love the exercise of making a big point scoring bag. You get points for adjacency, you get points for certain things, you get minus points for avoiding other things. So some people like that. And this game delivers about as well as some of these other grid laying games. So if you're a fantasy person, then this might be the one for you. Or if you're a tile laying person and you just love having all of them, then this one definitely kind of fits in with all the other tile laying games that you may have. So that's basically my thoughts on Squire for Hire. I think it's pretty solid. Liz, I think you will enjoy it when it does come in. If it does come in, if not, Dan Letzring has no idea that you are an influential Dice Tower person. We need to get the word out that we need to get this game in your hands right away.
Every game should just get in my hands right away if it plays solo.
I have power. That's what I hear.
Nah, I only have as much power as anybody wants to give me. It's like asking, How much is money worth?
That's true. Or like,
It's what people will pay for it.
All right. On that philosophical note, we can conclude our review for Squire for Hire. All right. So the next person whose games we are going to celebrate is Carla Kopp. Carla is a dear friend of the podcast. She's very supportive. Liz, I know you have a special relationship with Carla. Having demoed for her and her mother on a PAX a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah, her mother-in-law. Yes.
Ah.
So for background for everybody, Annette is the best booth lure-in person that I've ever seen. She just throws herself out there. Would you like to sample a game? She is like ruthless at getting people to come in and demo those games, and it's something that I have to deeply admire.
Very carefully said. Good job, Liz. So we are going to review 3 of Carla's games. So the first game we're going to do is also on the lighter side, like Squire for Hire. So we're going to kind of arc up in complexity as we go along these reviews. So Fire in the Library. This game is for 1 to 6 players, designed by Tony Miller and Todd Prather. So this one is a very simple push your luck game. You are librarians. Your job is to run into the burning library of Alexandria and save as many books at a time as you can. So the library, quote unquote, is represented by 4 stacks of cards in the middle of the table, each representing a different wing of the library. Geography, history, war. Doesn't really matter. It's green, it's blue, it's purple. So then, how does it actually work? So what you're going to do when you're at the beginning of the turn, each player is dealt a card with 5 spaces for 5 different cubes. That card that you get is going to represent how, quote-unquote, risky you're going to be. So there are cards that are small, and they give you small rewards, but then there are cards that are big, worth big points, but you could easily kind of lose everything. So you decide kind of how you're going to approach saving books. The action of saving books is drawing cubes from a bag. So you're going to draw from a bag. If it's a colored book, great. Then you just put it on your cube and then you put it on your card, go about your day. If the cube is red, that represents fire, that's bad. Not the end of the world bad, just bad. And then you could put that on your card, and then you could push your luck and figure out if you want to go back in and rescue another book. If you pull another red cube, then you're done. Or you can keep on pulling, more valuable cubes. So that's what you get in this game. You're going to get that ink and gold / diamond sense where everybody's looking at you at the table going, push your luck. Push your luck. And you have one red cube, but but you know you're behind, so you have to kind of risk it all. Or maybe you're ahead and you just want to pull the cube so that you can put the rest of the game away. I mean, it does the solid push your luck thing of that tense moment when you're reaching into the bag and you don't know what you're going to get. So, Liz, you are a Weird Giraffe expert. You're the reason why you're on this podcast. Your expertise in everything Carla Games. What did you think of Fire in the Library?
So I think that Fire in the Library is a great light game for playing with other people. I think that the real joy of the game is the drama of pulling stuff out of the bag and having everybody else at the table going, "Oh no! Oh, you got her points!" Or "Ha ha ha!" There's a whole group element to it that is really fun. Like when it was getting demoed at PAX Unplugged a couple years ago, it was really great to hear people yelling and roaring and getting really into the game. And it's the sort of thing that's good to play with students. It's good as a filler at game night. Fire in the Library does have 2 solo modes. And one of them is more aggressive and the other is more just kind of playing against yourself. And they are both very good in the sense that they work really smoothly. Carla is really, really great at making solo bots. She is a master of easy upkeep, simple but still challenging bots, some of which in other games of hers have different play styles, which we'll talk about later. But I just think that Fire in the Library is meant to be played in groups.
Right. I think it has a solo mode because Carla designed solo modes. Not necessarily because the design called for it. Plus, the solo mode is all on the cards. It's just symbols that don't mean anything in the multiplayer. Now, all of a sudden, it has this extra meaning in solo. There were no extra components. There's no real extra rules overhead. So I imagine it didn't take much to put a solo mode in there. So it's like, oh, this game's 2 to 6. I can design this for 1 to 6. Let's just do it. And does it need one? It's not a game that I'm going to be sitting here playing solo. So, if I were just rating this for that, probably a pass. Right. I just don't think push your luck works because the whole point of it is to get the whooping and the hooting and the hollering. Funny thing, when I demoed this game at my local game store, it made somebody very upset because they love books. So they got into the theme, they're doing it. But at the end of the game, you can actually work it to where you trigger the end game just purposely and burn all the books in the library because... Because you're ahead, and the game ends when the library burns down. So it's like, I'm ahead. I'm just going to burn this thing down. That was a little bit horrifying.
Yeah, okay. So I get being upset about books because, I too have intellectual leanings, and I too occasionally fetishize books. However, what other theme could that game have had that would be less disturbing? Seriously, what are you going to do? Save puppies from the animal shelter? That's on fire? No, that's a no.
Well, that was, I think that was the exact subject of a Ludology episode. I don't know if you listened to that podcast, but Jeff had a pod on where they did Ink and Gold and did a bunch of experiments with it. And then they changed the theme, kept the game, but changed the theme into I think it was firemen that are rescuing, people. And they wanted to kind of measure the different reactions that people had. Okay, if you were rescuing people, would you take more risk than if you were, hunting for gems? And then at the first game, yes, but then after your third game, then no one cares. It's just they're just going to play based on, calculating odds and that kind of thing. So.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I mean, it just underscores the point where it's the theme isn't meant to evoke that kind of reaction. It's meant to just draw people to the table. Or at least catch your eye because the box looks like a book. And then once actually at the table getting played a couple times, then whatever. It's just funny how that one person had that one reaction to,
Oh, yeah. But, no, right. I mean, I really think books, I don't know what other theme it could have been. Because it was trying to save somebody's tax records. You don't want to save that.
Their credit card debt.
No, let it burn. Let it all burn.
Let it burn. So that was Fire in the Library. Solid one for both of us, especially in the multiplayer. Really neat little push your luck game. All right, so we have a couple of other games that Liz is going to tell you about. The first one, I actually just saw Carla advertising this in the Board Game Reviewer Facebook group, so she's definitely still pushing it, and so she's meaning to kind of keep it in stock. So let's talk about it. You did talk about this a couple of years ago, but I have some thoughts this time. So we're going to talk about Stellar Leap.
Yes, so I have played Stellar Leap a lot because I demoed it at PAX East 2018. So Stellar Leap is a light 4X game, or at least that's what it's designed to be. And each of the players is going to play an alien species who starts with a home planet.
Well, let's tell people what 4X is, just in a very general way.
So it's, what is it? Explore, expand, exploit, exterminate.
Correct. Good job.
So basically you were supposed to spread out, get resources, beat stuff up, and like take advantage of your position. And then find more things. So in Stellar Leap, I would really say it's more of a 3X, and we'll get to that. So there's definitely a lot of exploration. So you start on a home planet, and you can check out all these different asteroids and planets, and you can mine them for resources, and you can put extra population out there on the board. And you're spreading around, and you're getting all these different resources, and you're using resources to feed your people and to travel, complete missions. There's all these different little things that you can do. I like mining asteroids in particular because it's like you can take this expensive fuel cost risk to go out to an asteroid, and then like you roll dice and you can get a ton of resources for doing it. It's very pleasing.
And this is all card based. Like you just you build the universe out of a deck of cards.
Yes, you do. And there's a lot of choice about where to put planets. So one of the interesting things about the game is that there's a lot of die rolling and manipulation, where every round the person who's the active player rolls 2 dice, and everybody at the table gets to produce resources based on those dice. So you can produce based on individual die faces and on the total. So a lot of planets and solar systems entries and stuff you're going to want to place on like the 5 and the 6 spaces, because there's like a space that's numbered for each of the dice. Because statistically, you're just more likely to get a hit there. So there's a lot of fighting for prime space and trying to make sure that, your homeworld is in a place where it's more likely to produce more often. And there's a lot of strategic value to thinking about where to put stuff. But there is an attack in the game, and like you can play with like a harsher attack variant, but really it's pretty toothless. Like you just kind of push other people around. Nobody dies in the game. So
yeah, attacking isn't really attacking. It's like having more population than somebody else, and then they move. That's the attacking.
Yeah, like it's really not that intense. So the exterminate aspect of things is a little bit of an overstatement for a 4X game. But the thing that really delights me about the game is this was the first time I'd ever encountered Carla's solo bots, and there are 3 different levels of bot in this game, and it's all just a really, really neat thing. So after so many years since I've encountered Stellar Leap, I think the game, it depends on what you want in a game. If you want a really relaxing game that doesn't have too much teeth to it, and you just want to kind of have a chill experience, then I think Stellar Leap might be really enjoyable for you. If you want something that's a little bit more high octane, maybe not. But the solo bots are really cool. Really cool. And it just makes me think about, this is Carla Kopp's, I think it was her second design. And looking at her more recent designs and things that she chooses to publish, it's like all these signs of cool things to come with her company.
Right. So for me, in terms of Liz's thing about, this is a casual kind of like, okay, I'm just going to do a bunch of stuff and have a great time with something. I think what I noticed about this game along those lines is that there's a lot of little actions that you can take in your turn. There's a couple of main actions, like the flying and actually movement. I think it's free. So that counts as actions to me. It's like, okay, I got all these movement things that I can do, and that's all free. But then, mining would be an action. And then there's little kind of minor actions, minor on mining, blah, blah, blah. Sorry about that. That you can do. So you can do up to like 7, 8 actions on a different turn. But Carla found a way to put all that in a turn without it being so long. Like, you can play a 6-player game of this, and each person could be doing their little actions, and it doesn't take that long for people to kind of go through their stuff, because the actions, you do a quick calculation, you see everything. It's like, okay, I'm going to go for that mine. I'm going to populate here. I'm going to, do these little things, and then boom, I'm going to pass my turn. And Carla found a way to make it both. That little action economy thing is rewarding to puzzle through, but it isn't long and arduous. The brain burn isn't there. The downtime isn't there. That's a really, really neat trick for this game. Now, where my difficulty was in terms of my expectations, so I'm hearing 4X, right? What's a 4X game? It does the stuff, like it does the expand and exploit, but in terms of the kind of meta strategic headspace in which I want to be in a 4X game, I want to build. And I want to build towards some kind of like crescendo point towards the end of the game where either I've built up my armies and I'm ready to conquer a place, or if it's like a Euro engine builder, I've built up stuff to where I can kind of press a button and then like, points. So like I have 1 point in one round, but then the 2 points in round 2, but then by round 6, I'm getting like 40. It's like, whoa, this is amazing. And you don't really get that here. The numbers get bigger, like you use more fuel and you get more resources, but it's all kind of contained in a slider, and you don't get that engine feeling. It's just more trades. And trades with bigger numbers, but it's the same things. So it's short, doesn't need to be this big old thing, and that's probably good to keep the playtime down. But if I'm going to be in that headspace of wanting a 4X experience, I kind of wanted that crescendo feeling a little bit more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I will say that the actions are so beautifully organized. What a nice board. No, I just think about all the attention to detail that Carla gives.
What a nice board. Yes. Buy this game for its player boards.
It so is. But yeah, I mean, I it's one of those games where I really want like a little bit more drama than I'm getting.
Right. I mean, it's a kind of a 6.5 range out of me, which is, I think, gamers will listen to that and say, oh, what a terrible grade. It's not. I mean, that's my grade for, if I'm looking for something, it may not have been for me, but if you're looking for that particular experience, if you're looking for a 4X-esque experience, get that word out there. If you're looking for kind of a lighter game where there's a lot of little trades and everything, if you want something with, some neat little artistic stuff, like I think there's like anthropomorphic animals as your aliens and everything. If you're looking for if you like what you heard, basically, if it's for you and it's not necessarily for me, then I hope that you take a look. So the last Carla game we're going to be talking about is her latest actual release. She's always putting out Kickstarter. She's always putting out new things. But this is the most recent game from the Weird Giraffe label itself. This one is Dreams of Tomorrow, designed by Philip Perry.
All right, so Dreams of Tomorrow, in many ways, is just a set collection game. The idea, it's got kind of a weird theme. It's that you guys are dream engineers, and you are in this kind of crappy apocalyptic future, and you're trying to send dreams back to the past to warn people and make them change the future by like having nightmares in the past and acting differently. So your job is to string together these dreams that, are the most effective possible dreams. And, you're looking for resonance. So, like, there's different symbols on the dream cards that you're trying to match. And then each dream also has its own score. And so you're scoring off of a combination of actual raw scores per dream and then the patterns that you can set up in your tableau. However, the dream cards also have actions. So if you cover those actions up, you don't get to use them anymore. So there's a little bit of timing involved. And the most interesting aspect of the game is the rondel. So all actions in the game, gaining resources, doing a dream action, weaving a dream, they all take place on this rondel where you can move your meeple up to a certain number of spaces and you can pay resources to move it extra. But
yeah, so rondel is definitely one of those gamer terms, like orthogonal, that it's like a gamer would know it, but if you're just casual, it's like,
Right. Okay,
so rondel is basically...
Think a little circle of actions that rotate.
I think of it like a pizza pie. Around. It's a pizza pie.
Yeah, although in this case it's like 4 cards, and then the top of the card has one action, the bottom card has one action, and you're moving around it like a little loop. But what's really cool about the rondel in this one is that you can manipulate it. So you can flip the action cards, move them around, kind of bring actions closer to you or move them further away from somebody else, from either the opponent or the bot player. And that's what really adds for me the best part of the game.
I like it because it's very tactical. So tactical, strategic. Like strategic is a lot of long-term planning. Like you have to do a move and then expect it to pay off 5 turns later. Here, you're going around that rondel and things change so much. The cards can flip, you get different resources, and you can, you basically have to react to what the game gives you. And I kind of like that. It's just like, okay, I'm just going to let my brain go and do this kind of casual thing where I just have to worry about maximizing my one turn. And yeah, there's a little bit of longer term plan, like you want to set things up where the cards are kind of facing the right way so you get the right resources when you land on them. But for the most part, it's like, especially when the bot is running around, like, okay, the bot might do something. You don't know what the bot's going to do. So just like react to what's in front of you. And I like that. And also just like it gives me, not only is it like give me that casual sense, it's also a little bit mischievous. Like I can mess with the bot, make him move back 3 spaces or deny him like passage or something. And, if I'm playing multiplayer, I can kind of flip a card on somebody. It's like, haha, you can't go here anymore. You can't go here anymore, or you have to spend some resources in order to kind of move further and get to the spot that you want. It has just enough of that mischievous quality, has just enough of that tactical sense that it just kind of hits a sweet spot for me. I really like it.
Yeah, I think it's the right combination of doing your own thing and then subtly getting to mess with other people and get messed with in a way that it's not overly aggressive, but it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I still actually play this game once in a while. I think the solo bot is a little, like you can manipulate a little too much. I don't think it poses a lot of resistance. So it's more definitely kind of that casual, I like the way the game feels type thing, as opposed to really getting challenged. I think that's kind of a hallmark of Carlos bots, unless he specifically designs to get you, which the aggressive bot in like Stellar Elite would do. It's like, okay, that one's hard. This one here, not so much, but it's fun, casual, tactical. You don't have to, do a whole lot of strategic planning, but still it kind of gives you that turn-by-turn feeling of, okay, how can I maximize my turn? And I don't know what the theme is at all. I have no idea what's going on with the dream catchers. And like this was a rethemed other game, so I understand that the theme integration is going to be the strongest. But, what the theme does, it creates an opportunity for some beautiful art, which, fine. For a light game, maybe that's all I can ask for,
Yeah, although, I mean, yeah, it's got the same trait that most of Carlos games have, which is that in terms of aggression, it's going to be really low. So it's the game that you want to play when you want to have a chilled out night where you do still have to work to win. It's not like the lack of toothiness makes it easy. It's just that, if you want a game that's really getting your blood up, this isn't it. If you want a game that's very calm and everybody's having a pleasant time and everybody can do something on their turn, then this is a good one.
Right. So this was Dreams of Tomorrow. Both thumbs up for me and Liz. This was a really solid one.
Agreed.
All right. So that was some Weird Giraffe reviews. I have 2 more reviews from Starling Games. Liz, how do you feel about the game Battleship? I surprised you with that one, huh?
All I can think of is Harold and Kumar.
Yeah.
Honestly, I haven't played Battleship since I was a little kid. I mean, it was never really my favorite. I always felt like it was kind of lucky, like who would get a hit first, and then you just work from there. Whatever. I could take it or leave it.
I know I might be running the risk of driving people away from this game by doing that, but I was describing Anomaly. So this is the game we're going to be talking about, Anomaly, to a friend, and it was in his living room, and his wife was in the kitchen, and his wife was like, I was describing the game, and the wife says, "It sounds like you're describing Gamer Battleship." And I'm like, yes. That's exactly what this is. So what is Anomaly? So Anomaly is a one-verse minigame where the anomaly, which is the big bad alien presence, and the students, which is the laboratory workers that are in the space station, neither side knows where the other is. So there's basically a guessing game. of a positional guessing where you're kind of trying to figure out, based on clues, where a person is and, doing whatever. So the alien is trying to feed. The students kind of have this collective health pool. It's not, you can't just like pick off a student. But so if the anomaly is trying to get the student health pool to 0. Same thing for the students. They are trying to get the alien to 0, but they can do so by kind of outlasting him. The alien kind of loses health along the way automatically. So you're trying to like duck and cover and, draw the alien out to certain places and, outlast the alien, deny it food, all that kind of thing. So the essence of the game, each student is going to have a turn, and the turns are card driven. So you're going to be this big circular board. A circular board has about 20 spaces on it, and you keep track of your secret movement behind your own personal player screen. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to kind of deduce where the alien is and lure him into stuff. So like you can set traps, you can, kind of guess where the alien is and stun him, or, like do that kind of thing. However, here's where the game kind of lives or dies. Each time you do like a special thing that's not just moving, you play it as a card, and then that card goes to the alien, and then they get to do a power. So think of like two-sided cards, and I'm going to like play my hammer, which is, that does 3 damage. If I'm right. If I'm wrong, it doesn't do anything. But you play a card, and then it's like, this is a really good card. Now the alien's going to get it. So I need to make sure that this card play that I'm doing right now is worth it. So if it's worth it, great. It's like, okay, take all the cards you want. But if it's not worth it, the alien kind of avoids you. Now that alien has a powerful card, and he can do whatever he wants. So the alien can do all sorts of things like evolve, get stronger. It can, sense more, move faster, all that kind of thing. So that's the essence, the tug of war of the game. So, and there's that guessing, like I call it battleship. Like that's kind of the core of the game. Like you're trying to guess where the other person is. And I've always liked the idea of battleship, but the actual game sucked. Like you said before, it's like a guessing game until you find it. Here, there's, because of the circular ring, there's also the clues. If one person does a thing, then they reveal the location. So it's like, okay, the alien sniffs you out, and there's tracking, there's sensors, there's all sorts of things that kind of take away that actual like blind guessing part and make it more of an educated guess, which I think is really, really fun, basic gameplay. So from what I described, I heard you kind of make a couple of exclamations. What do you think? Do you think that you would enjoy this type of game?
I think I would probably play it on game night and then forget it until the next time somebody brought it out and asked if I'd play it.
It lives or dies on that hook, So like the mutual guessing, that can be cool. It's a little bit weird because it that thematically doesn't make a lot of sense. Like nobody knows where they are. Like, the center board is there, but it doesn't have any of the figures on it. All of the action happens behind people's screens. So it's a little bit weird kind of thematically to understand, why doesn't anybody know where anybody is?
Well, have you played that game? What is it? It's a card game. Is it Not Alone?
Not Alone. Yeah, Not Alone's awesome.
When one person is the alien and everybody else plays those different location cards that have powers. I mean, I'd rather just play that. It sounds like. Yeah, I really like that one.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm glad that I kind of was able to get that sense. So what Anomaly does, it has that kind of spatial deduction type thing. Not Alone, there's no spatial element really. The alien just kind of guesses off of the powers on the cards what players are likely to do. So they don't have to worry about kind of tracking where the person is, which actually is I felt kind of liberated in Not Alone. In Anomaly, that spatial element is there. So if you want that, then maybe maybe Anomaly is the game for you. But Not Alone didn't have as much overhead as Anomaly does. I guess that's one of my big things with Anomaly is it was the rules it was a very kind of like little rules here and there. And as a game like this where I'm just kind of guessing back and forth, I don't want to have to remember all the little rules, because what happens is you go into the book, it's like, oh, okay, I hit you here, but I don't understand how hitting here works. That you just revealed your location to the to the person because you're asking about a rule. So it was solid. I mean, I think that there's a, like you said before, there's a spot for a kind of game like this at game night. I think Not Alone is a little bit better for me, but if you want that spatial kind of aspect to the game, and it still plays quickly, I think this one plays very, very quickly, in under 45 minutes if you really get everything down. So this was a pretty good one as well. So that was Anomaly. All right, finally, and I'm very happy to end the current run of ENGN on this one. Not that I'm a Euro guy, but ENGN is a lot, not just about games, it's about the people that make the games and giving a spotlight to them as much as possible. This game is Archmage. It is designed by Tim Hirma. Tim Hirma is an active participant in the BGA Slack, and I also got the chance to meet him at PAX Unplugged. A really, really dear guy, and he actually put Every Night is Game Night in the credits for Archmage as a person that helped broadcast the game. So thank you very much, Tim, for the shout out inside the rulebook for Archmage Ascendant. That was really, really cool. You got a chance to meet Tim, right?
I did. Yeah, he was really nice. What a nice guy.
So now let me roast this game. I'm going to do no such thing. So this one is Archmage Ascendant. So this is the expansion to Archmage. We talked about Archmage. At the time we talked about it a couple years ago, Liz, you had not played it. So what was your opinion of the base game of Archmage before we go on?
All right, so I think that Archmage is one of those games that I gave basically the equivalent of 7 to. It was before I was a Dice Tower reviewer, so it's a 3.5 on my 5 scale. What that means for me is that it is a good game that has a little bit of something special about it, but is not necessarily like an enduring favorite. And I think I still feel that way. Archmage is a really neat game. I really like the magic system. It's got some interesting area control elements, but it also takes a little bit to ramp up, especially in solo. Mm-hmm. And, there are cards that you don't really have access to in the same way in the solo mode, which I found sort of disappointing. You're a little bit more limited in terms of the interesting magic cards that you can play and earn. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those games that was sort of interesting because it's a very Euro-y play style, but the theme really lends itself to something more Ameritrashy. So you have to adjust your expectations for what the game's going to be. That said, I really enjoyed teaching it to students. I actually really liked it. I've had fun with it. I think it might not be as good in solo as it is in multiplayer. And it's a really interesting, worth trying game.
It's a straight up Euro. It's way more Euro than it is anything else. And if you know Tim, he's a very heavy gamer. Listens to BGA, which is a heavy Euro games podcast. So really, the game happens in 3 areas. First, there's the board, and the board has all these tiles, and you're kind of spreading out your influence on the tile. You're an Archmage, and you're trying to conquer as much, not quote unquote conquer, but like claim as much land as possible to gather its resources. It's an exploitation game. So you gather the resources and you transfer them over to your personal player board, which is this really neat little thing. You have mages and little meeple guys, and the more personal resources that you gather, the more they can kind of promote into like a concentric circle system, and which means that you get more and more powerful. In this game, power is represented by what Liz was mentioning, those spell cards. You start off with dinky little cards, and then as you move on through the game, you will get better and better and better spell cards. Actually, I don't even know if you start with spell cards, but you get them very quickly if you don't get them right away. But they're dinky to start with, and then you get the better ones later on. Yeah,
it's like there's different colors of magic, and you get stronger by kind of moving up and combining these different colors and getting more interesting hybrid spells. It's pretty cool.
So a big complaint, and I made this complaint about the game on Every Night is Game Night, that there seemed like a theme mechanism disjunction. So the theme lent itself to exploration. There's a bunch of tiles. You just want those tiles to be exciting, and they're not. You're like, okay, I get green now, and I get blue now, and they're basically just there to be resources. So it created kind of a theme disjunction that maybe it's like, oh man, I thought this could be a little bit more. It created an expectation that the game is different than what it is. Once you get past the expectation, there's a kind of really solid Euro engine there. And I think the real draw of this game, the reason why I'm keeping it, not just because Tim is my guy, I love you, Tim, the spells. The spells are really fun. Every spell is good as far as I know. I've played the game a bunch of times at this point, and it's not like there's like a better or worse version of it. It's just different play styles. You could tell this game was tested and tested and tested so that every spell, every path kind of results in something good. So Archmage Ascendant comes along and doubles the number of spells available to you. So I said, oh no. once you get that many more spells, there might be like that, you get bloat, you get power creep, you get, just like it just kind of throws things off often. Here, I can honestly say that Archmage Ascendant did a really, really good job. The spells integrate very well. You can kind of swap between spells. So before you just got one spell. If you achieved a certain level of power, now you can choose between depending on what the circles that you get. There's one spell in particular that just made me laugh out loud, which is amazing, called Enlarge. So in Enlarge, instead of you being your one meeple on the board, you are now two meeples. Like your figure literally grows, and they're represented by two boots. So you get these two meeple boots that you placed on two different tiles, and as you're walking, you can actually kick off your enemies or the bot. So like, it's hard to describe, but like you can actually just like kick. Like I had a turn, I got Enlarged going like really quickly, and I kicked off like 7 different enemy meeples, and I was like, I conquer all the space now because I was walking with my meeple boots.
Your boots are made for walking.
Thank you. And there's a bunch of, I think that was the most exciting one, but there's a couple of other ones that were like really fun. And there was a couple of cooperative spells. I'll get to the cooperative mode in a second that I was glad to have. I was happy to say, okay, I get resources depending on what you've done, which is, a nice little wrinkle there. The spells are the star of the show in Archmage. Archmage Ascendant adds more. Not better, but just really wrinkles things up a bit and has a lot of fun in there. Man, if you have Archmage and you enjoy it, I think just for the spells alone, it's definitely worth the price of admission. Did I entice you to try this game again with the big boots that were made for walking?
I think I had my fill.
Oh, well, dude! When you get up here, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. It's going to be great.
No, it seems awesome. But so here's the thing: it's that because I'm a reviewer and I'm constantly going through games.
Right.
I mean, Archmage already left my collection. I'm not gonna go back and get it again. You know what I mean? Like, if you didn't catch me the first time, that game might not even be here by the time you have another go around. And I'm constantly churning through games, and you have to make a decision about how worth it is it. Like, if you brought it over and it was there, I'd be like, all right, sure, let's try it. But am I going to go to the effort of, like, getting another copy of Archmage so I can play the expansion? No. No, I'm not.
But if I did have it on the table, you would play it, which is
exactly. I would.
Which is a good thing to point out. The expansion has a couple of other things. I don't think they shine as much as the extra spells and all the craft that was put into the spells, but they're there. There you can now get goals. So not only can you just build your empire, you can get extra points for building a certain way. So, you conquer a certain number of enemies, you get an extra bonus or something like that. So it kind of alters your playstyle a little bit. That's pretty good. It's like a kind of goals and roll for the galaxy or something like that. Just alters your playstyle just a little bit. There are other tiles. I was kind of hoping for like a whole suite of more exciting, more adventurous tiles. I think you get like 6. So it's like, okay, I'll throw those in there as well. There is a cooperative mode now, so Liz mentioned the solo mode. There is now a co-op mode. It is not that different. They wrinkle up the warlord a little bit. So the warlord's like this body one. He runs around and he basically takes area in his name so that you have to kind of fight back. He'll take it from you and you have to get it back from him and all kind of thing. It doesn't actually do a lot to wrinkle up the base gameplay. It's like, it doesn't, it's okay. What I will say is, as a co-op mode, it adds collaboration while not necessarily adding cooperation. What I mean by that is, now you and another player can play against this bot, and you can kind of talk about what you want to do, but you don't actually have a lot of opportunity to do actual cooperative stuff on the board. You can get those spells that I mentioned, the cooperative spells, but they're kind of optional. You don't have to use them in order to beat the bot. You don't have to like team up, use resources like shit. You can't trade resources. You can't. There's not a lot of like cooperation in the game. So is the cooperative mode worth it? If you're a co-op gamer, could you want Archmage? If you like Archmage, then go for it. Don't let me put you off of that. But I don't know if that's a major selling point. The selling point really is the additional spells and all the craft that was put in the spells. In Archmage, the selling point is the spells. I love the spell system. So that's basically it for Archmage. I think it's a thumbs up. Liz, I know there's a lot to play and we're probably not going to get to it, but if we get that far, if you spend the whole weekend here, which I know is like a dream at this point.
Oh, it'd be so fun though.
I would happily put Archmage on the docket over here, at least with the Ascendant expansion for a weekend. So we can look forward to that. Oh, yeah.
And I think it's a good game. It's just that I live in an apartment and I really have limited space. So games do not stay in my collection very long unless I really love them.
I got some Brook City expansions over here. Thank God for Liz's limited space. Yeah.
I make sure my friends benefit from my lack of space.
So that was Archmage Ascendant, and that was 6 games for a review. Thank you so much to the publishers who have provided not just the games, but also kind of opened themselves up to relationships and all that kind of thing. Actually, a funny thing about publisher relationships, that this just happened a couple of days ago. Rory O'Connor of Rory Story Cubes just texted me out of the blue. He remembered I was from New York, and he's like, I'm going to be in New York. I don't really have much to do. I'm visiting a co-designer, but I don't have a lot to do. So would you like to get together and check out some advanced copies of games I'm going to kickstart soon? And I'm like, that's so cool. Rory O'Connor is just texting me out of the blue and wants to get together with me, sees value in teaming up and being featured on my channel. So that kind of thing just tells you, even though I'm going to take a short break, I really value these relationships. I think they're just really fun. I really hope on your end as a listener, you get the enthusiasm, you value the relationship that I've tried to create with you, and just keep it going, keep the channels open. I understand that Liz sometimes lives in dread of your interactions over on YouTube.
Only if you're going to nitpick me to death. No, no. Honestly, most of my interactions with people online are so great. It's part of the thing that keeps you going is when people interact with you and say, hey, I saw your video. It did this for me. It's really nice.
So I am definitely going to take a break. I'm going to recharge the batteries, and then I'll be back. Liz will be back. Anthony will be back. Anthony will always happy to have Anthony in the co-host chair. Jeremy will be back, and all the people that are regular characters will have new relationships, new interviews, and ENGN will definitely go forward. But until then, go ahead and grab a solo game off of that shelf, and let's make every night a game night.
Happy gaming, y'all.